So I was working on my next review, trying to get it done in between engineering reports and the obligatory common cold I always get around this time of year, and then something turned up in my inbox which I felt I really wanted to talk about. So yes, Rewrite Anime, by Studio 8-bit apparently. That's happening. So I figured I would just give you some of my thoughts on it, and tell you why I'm feeling really anxious about it. Now, I don't want to be a cynical jerk about this, because cynicism isn't very good for your mental health, but I'm really worried about this, because making a good anime out of Rewrite is going to be extremely difficult. For starters, Rewrite is long. Insanely long. Over 100 hours long. There's no way they could possibly fit the entire plot of the VN into one anime. No way! If they had more than 50 episodes to work with, then maybe there could be a chance, but let's be real here. Animes that are planned from the get-go to have that many episodes don't really get made anymore. And if a show does reach that length, it's usually because of sequels that were only created after the first season proved to be a success. For that reason, I don't think it's even possible to adapt Rewrite in its entirety. If they try to do that, then they would have to rush through the story at such an insane pace that no one other than the people who have read the VN are gonna have a single clue of what's going on. And then there's the next issue. This visual novel isn't structured to be a linear experience, because the routes in Rewrite were not written to function as standalone stories. They were created as puzzle pieces of a greater whole. So it's only when the reader has gone through the entire game multiple times that one starts to understand the plot in its entirety. Anime, on the other hand, obviously is a linear medium, so because of that, somehow they would have to rework this yarn ball of a novel to function with only one single plotline, and doing that without turning it into an incoherent mess is going to be a huge challenge. And to make matters even worse, the tone of the routes in Rewrites are very different. Chihiya's, for example, is a lot more happy and chipper than, say, Kotori's or Akane's. So if you try to mix the story of the routes together, then you run the risk of having the anime feel very inconsistent in its atmosphere. The next thing that has me a bit worried is that I have no idea how skilled Studio 8-bit is as an animation company. I'm looking at this Wikipedia page right now and I don't really recognize any of these shows. Except IS Infinite Stratos, I guess, and yeah. There's also the Gusai anime, I guess, which I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard mixed opinions about it. I know it's really unfair of me to be skeptical about a studio just because I don't know much about them, but to me Studio 8-bit don't exactly look like a Ufotable, or Kyoto Animation, or even a PA Works for that matter. But probably the biggest reason that keeps me from jumping up and down is that, let's be honest here, visual novel adaptations don't have the greatest record. That an anime based on a VN is actually good is, unfortunately, the exception to the rule, as usually VN adaptations tends to just kinda suck. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see history repeats itself for Rewrite as well. But let's put aside all the negativity and talk about how they actually could make the anime work. Like I said before, I think it's a failed cause to try and adapt all of Rewrite in one go. That's just not gonna work. But what they could do is to focus on only one route, and then rewrite it so that it could work as a standalone story. For example, say if the anime starts out fairly calmly around a high school environment, just to establish who the characters are, and then slowly transition into, say, Lucia's route, and then make the events of her story the main plotline of the anime. Then you also write in the other characters to give them greater roles in her route, as well as changing the ending a bit just to make it feel like a proper conclusion to the story as a whole. I actually think that could turn out pretty sweet, because in that case, the story would be short enough for them to be able to fit it into the standard length of one season, and the plot also would feel a lot more coherent than if they somehow tried to mix the story of all the routes together. They could also choose to focus on Akane's route. It would actually be a legit amazing plot twist if they actually made the ending of Akane's route the canon ending of the anime. I don't think anyone would expect that. Chihiya's route also might work, though in that case the anime might simply turn into a bit of a generic shonen thingy, which I think would be a bit of a shame. Kotora's and Chitsura's routes wouldn't work quite as well though, I think. Kotora's because her route served as more of an introduction to the world than a full story, and Chitsura's route because, well, her story just wasn't as good as the rest of the game. Again though, they would have to rewrite huge chunks of the plot to work around the non-linear nature of the game, because I just can't see how they could possibly make a good anime out of rewrite if they don't take liberties with the plot. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts on the soon-to-be-made rewrite anime. I'm gonna give it a try, but I don't dare to get excited about this. There are just too many things that this project has stacked against it. Still, maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. I mean, the Steins Gate anime turned out pretty well, and as far as I know, the original game can't have been very easy to adapt either. So maybe, just maybe, they will actually make something good out of this. Maybe.